Title: The Silver Star They Threw Away. My mother threw my Navy Gala invitation into the trash because she thought it was a scam. She said, "No one is inviting you as a guest of honor. You probably just sorted the paperwork." My brother laughed so hard he spilled wine on the table. For 30 years, that was how my family explained me. My brother's third-place running trophy stayed on my mother's refrigerator for 2 decades. My appointment to the Naval Academy was called free paperwork. My silver star was hidden in a drawer because it made my brother uncomfortable. But that night, at the security gate, my mother watched a young sailor scan my military ID. His eyes widened. He straightened so fast his boots hit the pavement. Then a Master Chief stepped out of the guardhouse, saluted me in front of my entire family, and said, "Rear Admiral Waverly, the fleet has been waiting for you all evening." My brother stopped laughing. My mother stopped breathing. And for the first time in my life, the invisible daughter became the highest-ranking person in the room. My name is Caroline Waverly. For most of my childhood, I believed I was difficult to see. Not because I was quiet, not because I disappeared into corners. I was not a timid child. I built things. I asked questions. I took apart radios and rebuilt them badly before I learned to rebuild them well. I spent Saturdays in my father's garage with grease under my nails, a flashlight between my teeth, and the stubborn belief that anything broken could be understood if you looked long enough. But inside my family, visibility had rules. My brother Owen was visible. If Owen tied his shoes correctly, my mother clapped. If Owen ran 50 yards at a school field day and came in third. She placed his cheap plastic trophy in the center of the refrigerator and told everyone who entered the house that he had the heart of a champion. When I was 10, I entered the state science fair with a model of an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer built from scrap steel from my father's workshop. I cut my fingers twice. I stayed awake 6 nights in a row sanding the hull. I made the tiny radar mast from bent wire and solder. The judges gave me first place. My father looked at the certificate and nodded once. My mother said, "That's nice, Caroline. Put it somewhere safe before it gets bent." Then she moved Owen's third-place trophy back to the center of the refrigerator. I remember standing there with my blue ribbon in my hand, understanding something before I had words for it. In our house, achievement did not create love. Love decided which achievements mattered. That lie carried me for 30 years. When I received my appointment to the United States Naval Academy, I held the envelope for 10 minutes before opening it. I had applied without telling my mother because I already knew what she would say. I had earned grades, recommendations, medical clearance, and a congressional nomination. I had survived interviews with men who looked at me as if they were measuring whether I would break under weather. Out of thousands, I was chosen. I walked into the kitchen with the letter in my hand. My mother was cutting vegetables. Owen was at the table complaining that his business professor did not understand big-picture thinkers. "I got in," I said. My mother did not look up. Into what? The Naval Academy? The knife paused. Owen laughed first. "You? Marching around with boys?" "It is an officer training academy," I said. My mother finally looked at the letter. Her eyes moved over the words, but her face did not change. "Well," she said, "at least it's paid for. Don't embarrass us by quitting." That was my send-off. No party, no photograph, no proud call to relatives. Owen's third-place trophy remained on the refrigerator. My appointment letter went into a drawer beside batteries, stamps, and expired coupons. After graduation, I went into explosive ordnance disposal because I wanted the one field where pretending could not survive. That became my religion. By 48, I had a silver star, a Bronze Star with Valor, and 16 documented high-risk render-safe operations. By 52, I was a Rear Admiral responsible for thousands of sailors. At home, I was still Carrie with the paperwork job. That was what my mother called me. Owen became a defense consultant without credentials, without clearance, and without any shame. He rented a glass office near Arlington, wore expensive suits, and told people he advised on 9-figure maritime strategy. Not directly at first. A month of his office lease because he was between contracts. A Porsche down payment because my mother said image mattered in his field. A $60,000 loss from my mother's vineyard investment because Owen had told her agriculture was the next defense-adjacent asset class. Over 15 years, I sent more than $400,000 into the fantasy. People who are trained to defuse bombs can still spend decades feeding the one device wired to their childhood. The Thanksgiving before everything changed. Owen arrived 2 hours late and walked into my mother's dining room as if applause had been delayed by traffic. He wore a navy blazer, a silver watch, and the satisfied expression of a man who had mistaken borrowed language for intelligence. My mother lit up. "Owen, sweetheart, tell us about your Pentagon work." He kissed her cheek and sat at the head of the table, where my father used to sit before cancer took him. I had cooked the turkey. My mother had thanked Owen for bringing wine. During dinner, he began describing a meeting with Admiral Cole Harrington. My fork paused halfway to my plate. Admiral Harrington was not a distant public figure. He was under my operational chain. I had spoken to him that morning. Owen said, "Cole really values my perspective. He likes that I can see beyond military bureaucracy." My mother touched his sleeve the way people stroke a racehorse. I breathed in 4 counts. Held 4. Out 4. "Cole," I said mildly. Owen looked at me. "Yes, Admiral Harrington, you probably wouldn't know him. Strategic level." My niece glanced down at her plate. My mother laughed. "Carrie, maybe you could ask Owen for help getting a better position. Surely the Navy has cleaning contracts or administrative offices." Owen grinned. "There's no shame in paperwork." The table laughed. Not everyone. My niece did not. My aunt did not. But enough. Enough for the old kitchen to return around me. The science fair certificate. The lie had supply lines. And I had been funding them. 2 weeks later, the invitation arrived. Heavy cream paper, Navy crest, embossed lettering. EOD Annual Valor Gala. Guest of honor, Rear Admiral Caroline Waverly. I was at sea for an inspection when it reached my mother's house because I still used that address for some ceremonial mail. She called me while I was between briefings. "Carrie, some scam letter came for you." "What letter?" "Something about a gala, guest of honor." She snorted. "They must send these to everyone. I threw it away." I closed my eyes. "Did it have a Navy crest?" "I don't inspect trash for logos." "Mother." "Oh, don't use that tone. No one is inviting you as guest of honor. You probably just sorted the paperwork." Behind her, I heard Owen laugh. I felt the old door open inside me. For once, I did not close it. "I will need you and Owen to attend with me Saturday." She was silent. "Attend what?" "The gala." Owen came on the line. "Carrie, don't embarrass yourself. Those events are for actual, decorated people." I looked out through the shipboard window at gray water and a sky the color of steel. "Saturday, 6 p.m., wear formal attire, bring identification." My mother said, "We are not driving onto some base because you want to prove a point." "Yes," I said, "you are—" She heard something in my voice then. Not anger. I said nothing. The young sailor at the gate leaned down. "Good evening, ma'am. Identification." I handed him my CAC. He scanned it. The screen changed. His eyes widened. Then he looked from the card to my face and back again. He straightened so quickly my mother flinched. "Good evening, Admiral." Owen looked up from his phone. The sailor's hand came up in a sharp salute. I returned it. My mother leaned forward. "Admiral?" Before she could say more, the guardhouse door opened. Master Chief Jonah Reyes stepped out. I had not seen Jonah in 8 years, but I would have recognized him in a blackout. He carried his old wounds the way experienced men carry weather, without complaint, without display, always present. I had dragged Jonah 40 meters through rubble in Iraq in 2009, with shrapnel in my forearm, and smoke so thick we had to breathe through cloth. Later, he told people I saved his life. I always told him he was exaggerating. He was not. Jonah walked to the vehicle, stopped at my door, and saluted. "Rear Admiral Waverly," he said. "The fleet has been waiting for you all evening." The words entered the car like a detonation. My mother stared at me. Owen's mouth opened, then closed. I stepped out slowly, smoothing the front of my dress uniform. Jonah lowered his voice. "Permission to say something unprofessional, ma'am?" "Denied if it is emotional." "Then I'll keep it short. About time they saw you." For a moment, the years threatened to break through my throat. I nodded once. "Thank you, Master Chief." He looked past me into the car, at my mother and brother. Flags, dress uniforms, gold braid, white tablecloths, old EOD men with missing fingers, young sailors standing too straight, spouses who knew the language of waiting, widows who knew the language of folded flags. At the entrance, a captain greeted me. "Admiral Waverly, we're honored." My mother stopped walking. Owen whispered, "What is happening?" I did not answer. On the far wall, photographs from past operations rotated across a screen. I saw faces I had not allowed myself to remember during holidays. Men and women whose laughter existed now only in certain rooms, in certain stories, among people who knew how expensive survival could be. My mother saw one of the photos. I was younger, kneeling in body armor beside a damaged device, my gloved hands inches from the trigger assembly. "That's you?" she said. "Yes." "You never told me." I turned to her. "I told you I worked in EOD." She blinked. I thought that was paperwork. Owen's face had gone pale. His phone was in his hand, but he was no longer scrolling. He was searching. Searching me, searching my name. Searching the rank he had not believed. Every answer would make him smaller. That should have satisfied me. It did not. The wound was older than revenge. When the program began, Jonah introduced me. He did not mention my family. He mentioned Iraq. He mentioned 16 render-safe operations. He mentioned the Silver Star. At that, my mother made a small sound. Not pride. Shock. As if the medal were an accusation. I walked to the podium. The room stood. That sound, hundreds of people rising because they had been asked to honor me, nearly undid me. I gripped the edge of the podium and breathed. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. Then I looked at the audience. I did not look directly at my family. I did not need to. Truth has good aim. After the gala, Owen tried to recover in the parking lot. Men, like Owen, do not apologize when exposure first hits them. They negotiate for control of the story. "Carrie," he said, "you should have told us it was that kind of event." My mother stood beside him, silent and pale. That kind, I repeated. You know what I mean? Formal, high level? No, Owen, I do not know what you mean. He glanced around, lowering his voice. You made us look stupid. I looked at him for a long time. No, I stopped helping you look important. His jaw tightened. You think one fancy dinner changes everything? No, I said. The dinner changes nothing. What comes next does. My mother finally spoke. Caroline, don't be cruel. He's your brother. There it was. The old commandment. Protect Owen. Shrink the truth. Make the room comfortable for the person who broke it. I took my phone from my purse. Tomorrow at midnight, every automatic payment ends. Owen stared. What payments? I opened the folder on my phone. Porsche insurance, office lease supplement, mother's club fees, credit card emergency coverage, business line backup, investment loss repayment, 12 monthly withdrawals. My mother's lips parted. You kept records? I am an admiral in the United States Navy, I said. Of course I kept records. Owen's voice sharpened. You can't just cut things off. I will. Family helps family. No, I said. Family does not build a throne on one daughter's back and call it help. Collapse did not happen all at once. It happened in humiliating pieces. My mother's card was declined at the restaurant where she had taken friends for lunch. She called me 6 times. I did not answer. Owen's office manager emailed him about unpaid rent. He forwarded it to me with 3 question marks. I did not answer. A defense contractor who had been considering a strategic partnership ran a background check and discovered Owen had no clearance, no formal defense credentials, and no relationship with Admiral Harrington beyond lying about one. That call I did answer. Not from Owen. From Admiral Harrington. Caroline, he said, do you have a brother named Owen? Unfortunately, there was a pause. Do I need to know anything that affects operational integrity? No, sir. Just family integrity, or the absence of it. He exhaled. Understood. By the end of the month, Owen's glass office was empty. The Porsche was gone. My mother stopped mentioning his consulting firm because the name itself had begun to embarrass her. Then she called about the house. My father had left behind a garage full of tools, old drawers, rusted coffee cans of bolts, and a workbench scarred by 40 years of repairs. I'm selling the tools, she said. No, I said. Caroline, don't start. I will come Saturday. The garage smelled like oil, dust, and my father's silence. For years, I had believed he had seen me only as a set of useful hands, but as I opened the lower drawer of his old tool chest, something wrapped in cloth shifted beneath the wrenches. Inside was a rough piece of steel welded into the shape of an anchor. Ugly. Careful. Handmade. My fingers went numb. Beneath it was my science fair certificate from age 10, laminated in plastic, yellowed with time. And beneath that, a newspaper clipping announcing my commission as an ensign. On the back of the steel anchor, scratched with a tool by a man who had never known how to say love, were the words, "My anchor, my daughter." I sat down on the garage floor. For 30 years, I had told myself my father had not noticed. He had noticed. He had simply failed to speak in any language that could reach a child. That failure did not heal the wound, but it changed its shape. My mother stood in the doorway. What is that? I held up the certificate. You threw this away. She looked confused. I don't remember. All those years, I thought Dad didn't care about anything. He cared, I said. He was just a coward with language. Owen nodded slowly. Then he did something I did not expect. He took my laminated certificate, walked into the kitchen, removed his old field day trophy from the refrigerator, and placed my certificate there instead. My mother started to protest. Owen looked at her. "No, Mom." 2 words. Late. Small. But real. I did not forgive them quickly. People like neat endings because they are easier to sell. A salute at a gate does not erase 30 years. A medal on a wall does not repair a childhood. A brother's shame does not automatically become growth. But something changed because I changed the conditions. My mother could no longer purchase her illusion with my money. Owen could no longer inflate himself with my silence. And I could no longer pretend humility meant allowing people to lie about my life. Months later, Owen sent me a photo. The kitchen wall had been rearranged. My Silver Star citation hung beside the steel anchor. The science fair certificate was framed properly. My Naval Academy appointment letter, rescued from somewhere in the old drawer, sat beneath it. Owen wrote only one sentence. "Dad saw you before we did." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I wrote back. "Now you have to keep seeing." A week after that message, Owen asked to meet me at a quiet diner near the base. He arrived without a suit. That alone felt like evidence. For the first 10 minutes, he talked too much because silence scared him. Then he pushed a folder across the table. Inside were the remaining invoices connected to the old office, the Porsche cancellation, and a list of people he had contacted to correct the false impression that he had defense access. "I don't know how to be small," he said finally. I looked at him over the rim of my coffee. "You were never small, Owen. You were overfed." He winced, but he did not argue. "That mattered?" "I hated you," he admitted. "Not because you failed, because you didn't. Every time you succeeded, I needed Mom to make it mean less." "And I helped," I said. He looked up. "I paid for the lie because it was easier than watching the family punish me for telling the truth." For the first time, my brother did not ask me to make him feel better. He only nodded. "I'm sorry," he said. "It was not enough." But it was honest. And after 30 years of performance, honesty felt like a language neither of us knew how to speak fluently yet. At work, nothing dramatic changed. Ships still needed decisions, sailors still needed leadership, operations still required calm. My heart still knew how to slow itself before difficult calls. But something inside me stopped reporting to the old kitchen. That is the only way I can describe it. But then you begin to hear yourself. I heard myself in the sound of my boots on a pier, in the click of a secure door opening, in the quiet of my apartment without emergency calls from my mother. In my own name spoken correctly. Rear Admiral Caroline Waverly. Not Carrie. Not paperwork. Not invisible. Caroline. At the next EOD memorial, Jonah Reyes stood beside me while names were read aloud. "Afterward," he said, "you seem lighter, ma'am." "I cut some weight." "Family." "Supply lines." He smiled faintly. "Good strategy." I looked across the memorial stones. I spent years thinking sacrifice without boundaries was love. "That's not love," Jonah said. "That's logistics for someone else's entitlement." I almost laughed. Then I did. The sound surprised me. Later that evening, I went home and placed the steel anchor on my desk. Not because my father's hidden pride fixed everything. It did not. A secret love can still fail a child. But the anchor reminded me that my worth had existed even when no one knew how to honor it. That is the lesson I wish I had learned earlier. Recognition matters, but it cannot be the place where your value begins. My value did not begin when the sailor saluted me at the gate. It did not begin when the ballroom stood. It did not begin when my brother finally took his trophy down. It had been there in the garage, in the academy letter, in the frozen dirt beside a bomb, in every payment I should not have made. In every breath, I used to stay calm while people laughed. The world did not give me value by seeing me. It only became honest. My mother still struggles. Owen is trying, which is not the same as healed. I keep boundaries now, real ones, written ones when necessary. And every time someone tells me family means unconditional support, I think of those 12 automatic payments ending at midnight. Unconditional sacrifice does not create gratitude in people trained to feel entitled. It creates hunger. So I stopped feeding the lie. That was the day justice began. Not at the gala, not at the gate. Not when my mother's card was declined or Owen's office emptied. Justice began when I finally understood that protecting the truth of my own life was not arrogance. It was duty. The invisible daughter did not become visible because her family finally looked. She became visible because she stopped standing in the dark for them.